Hello and welcome back again to the Parayon YouTube channel. This is the second part of the chapter first, class 7, region and empire. So large states like those of Cholas, Tughlaq or Mughals encompassed many regions, made up of many regions. So Sanskrit Prashasti in chapter 2 is the example of it. In the Prashasti, normally what they do is they praise the king, means they write a more about the kings or they write a poem about the kings. Delhi Sultanate Ghayasid Balban, right, is written, his Prashasti written, which explained that he was the ruler of vast empire that stretched from Bengal to East Ghazni or Ghazana in the Afghanistan in the west and including all the South India. People of a different region, Gauda, Adhara, Kerala, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and Gujarat, apparently fled before his armies. Historians regard as the exaggerated claim of conquest, means historians do not believe too much about such kind of the possibilities. At the same time, they try to understand why ruler kept claiming to have control over a different part of the subcontinents. So in 700, many regionals already possess a distinct geographical dimensions and their own language, cultural characteristics. So they have developed certain type of culture among them. You will learn more about this in later on chapter. They were also associated with specific ruling dynasties, right? So particular dynasties ruling that particular area. There was a considerable conflict between the states. Occasionally, dynasties like Cholas, Khaljis, Tughlaqs, and Mughals were able to build an empire that was a pan-regional, spanning diverse regions. Not all these empires were equally stable or successful. Compare, for example, table 1 in chapter 3 and 4. So you'll come on to this later on, right? That how they were ruling and how long they were ruling about these Khaljis and Mughal dynasties in the next chapters. When the Mughal Empire declined in the 18th century, it led to a re-emergence of regional state. So one whole empire is declined, then they produce small states. But years of imperial pan-regional rule had altered the character of the regions. Across most of the subcontinent, the regions were left with the legacy of the big and small state that ruled over them. This was apparent in the emergence of many distinct and shared traditions. In the realm of governance, the management of the economy, allied culture, and language. Though the thousand years between 700 and 1750, the character of the different regions did not grow in isolation. They felt the impact of larger pan-regional forces of integrations without ever quite losing their distinctiveness. Right. So many rulers on the same place for 1,000 years, they definitely have the impact on the culture, language, and the way people live, but still they kept their distinctiveness among the people. Old and new religion. The 1,000 years of history that we are exploring witnessed major development in religious traditions. People's belief in the divine was sometimes deeply personal, but more usually it was collective. Collective belief in a supernatural agency, religion, was often closely connected with the social and economic organizations of local communities. As the social world of this group altered, so too did their belief. What they're trying to say is that people do believe in a supernatural power, and that is mostly connected with the where they do live, depending upon the communities and their social and economical activity. It was during this period that important changes occurred in what we call Hinduism today. This includes the worship of new deities, the construction of temple by royalty, and the growing importance of Brahmanas, the priest, as a dominant group in society. Their knowledge of Sanskrit text earned the Brahmins a lot of respect in society. Their dominant position was consolidated by the support of their patrons, new rulers searching for the prestige. One of the major development was emergence of the idea of bhakti, of a loving personal deity that devotees could reach without the aid of priests or elaborated rituals. You will be learning about this in chapter 8. So here what we are going to learn about is this Hinduism today. has a totally different. However, come across the new deities, new gods, and how the Brahmins' importance increased during this period of time. They are the one who learn the Sanskrit and they try to dominate the positions in the society. This was also the period when the new religions appeared in the subcontinent. Merchant and migrant first brought the teaching of the Holy Quran to India in the 17th 7th century. Muslims regard the Quran as their holy book and accept the sovereignty of the one God Allah, whose love, mercy, and beauty embrace all those who believes in Him without regard to social background. So, the new religions or new beliefs, when the Muslim enters to India, they brought with them many rulers were patrons of Islam, and the ulmas learned theologians and jurists. And like Hinduism, Islam was interpreted in a variety of ways by its followers. There was a Shia Muslims who believed that the Prophet, the son-in-law Ali, was the legitimate leader of the Muslim community, and the Sunni Muslim who accepted the authority of elder early leaders, caliphs of the community, and the succeeding caliphs. There were other important differences between the various schools of law, Hanafi and the Safis mainly in India, and the theology and mystic traditions. So the rulers who believe in the Islam, there are two parts, Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. They have their own ideology or belief systems for the same religion. Thinking about the historical periods, historians do not see time just as a passing of hours or days or years. As a clock or a calendar, time also reflects changes in social and economical organization. In the persistence and transformation of idea and belief, the study of time is made somewhat easier by dividing the past into large segment period that possess a shared characteristics. So it was difficult to separate the time period for the historians on the base of time or days or years. In the middle of the 19th century, British historians divided the history of the India into three periods. This is most important: Hindu, Muslim, and British. This division was based on the idea that the religions of ruler was the only important historical changes, and that there were no other significant developments in the economy, society, or culture. Such a division also ignored the rich diversity of subcontinent. To study easily, the Britishers were divided the Indian history into three basic parts: Hindu, Muslim, and British era. Few historians follow these periodizations today. Most look to economic and social factors to characterize the major element of the different moments of the past. The histories you read last year, including a wide range of early societies, hunters, gatherers, early farmers, peoples living in the town and villages, and early empires and kingdoms. The histories you will be studying this year are often described as a medieval. You will find out more about the spread of peasant societies, the rise of regional and imperial states formations, sometimes at the cost of pastoral and forest people, the development of Hinduism and Islam as major religions, and the arrival of European trading companies. So, it was not completely followed by the whole historians. So, what you are going to study is the medieval period. These 1,000 years of Indian history witnessed a considerable change. After all, the 16th and the 18th century were quite different from 8th or 11th. Therefore, describing the entire period as a one historical unit is not without its problem. Moreover, the medieval period is often contrasted with the modern period. Modernity carries with the sense of material progress and intellectual advancement. This seems to suggest that the medieval period was lacking in the change whatsoever. But of course, we know this was not the case. During these 1,000 years, the society of the subcontinent were transformed often and economic in several regions, reach a level of prosperity that attract the inherent interest of European trading companies. As you read this book, look out for signs of change and the historical process at work. Also, wherever you can, try and compare what you read in this book with what you read last year. Look out for changes and continuities where you can, and look at the world around you to see what else has changed or remained the same. So the last two paragraphs says that 1,000 years of Indian history has seen considerable change in it. They are not same in the 16th and 18th or 8th or 11th century. The period has a lot many changes, and modern periods are contrasted with the medieval ones. Last 1,000 years, society and subcontinent were transformed economically in various places. So level of prosperity is not remain the same throughout here, and why the people of Europe attracted towards the Indian subcontinent. That's the end of the chapter.